Now, switch case is basically used when you can decide on the way on the variables value that which block of code to be executed. When I say block of code is nothing but whatever is inside these curly braces. So for example, for this if block, this is your block of code, whatever is inside these two curly braces, right? So for example, I have this, right? In order to write the same thing as a switch case, what I need to write one switch statement. So switch. Now, on which variable I need to write my switch statement? So I need to write my switch statement on my day variable, right? So I'll simply give day, right? Now, what I want to define different cases that on which day value I want to execute which block of code. So for example, I have a case 1, right? So on when the value of day is 1, I want to perform something. That performance is I simply want to say this particular line of code. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Now, what I want to do is I want to break this statement as soon as this particular line of code is executed. So in switch cases, right? So this is your switch statement, which starts with a curly brace and closes with a closing curly brace. Then you have given the variables name on which you want to execute your switch case. Then you are writing multiple cases, right? And all cases are ended with break statement. It means whatever lines of code you want to execute, write those lines, and after that give break. Okay, does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
It
Now
does, Charlene, but can you a little bit more explore on what is the particular use of switch case? Not like when you represented here that we can with the example that we have day 1, day 2, right? Like the examples that you have, very nice examples that you are giving sometime to us. I'm looking for something like that.
I'll try to think of something.
Okay.
So I have another case, right? So for case number 2, I want if my day's value is 2, I want my output to be simple system.out.println and then break. So break is necessary for every switch case, right? So for every switch case, once my all the lines are executed, I'll simply write break statement, right? So this is your Tuesday. Now I'll quickly write all the statements. So this is your case 3, this is your case 4, this is your case 5, this is your case 6, this is your case 7, right? And what you have to do is right. So these are your cases, right? Now you don't have to write all these many if blocks just to perform the operation on one single variable, right? So with this switch case, it gives you a better readability that, okay, there is something we are doing on the days. Once the day value is changed, my logic is changing. So if my day value is 4, we will come to know that I have to execute case number 4, right? So if I run this program, it will still give me the same output. Any questions? Any doubt, anyone? Anyone, any questions, any doubt?
No question.
Okay, but let's say I have a else block, right? So I could anytime give you else block that if my day is not between 1 to 7, then print not a valid day, right? I could do that, right? Yeah, I would have written the else block over here, and I could have simply said system.out.println not a valid date, not a valid day. Does it make sense? So how to achieve that in uh, switch cases, right? I cannot write 0 and then from 8 to thousands of the numbers, right? So there is a case called as default, that if nothing is there in the cases, if the day value is something which is not present in these cases, right? Then what should we do? Then we should simply print not a valid day, right? Now let me change the 2100, right? So if I run this program, it will simply say not a valid day. So what really happens? It checked if my value of day is between these cases written, then it will execute that particular case. If the value is outside the cases written, it will execute your default case. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes. Can we, Charlene, give an example of, for instance, you are applying for instance, for a program, and they have eligibility criteria where they set 5 requirements to you, that you should meet these 5 requirements, at least, like you should meet one of the 5 requirements, then you will be eligible for the requirements, right? In such a case, if we have, for instance, the guy has should have, for instance, the case one should be, you should have a BA in software engineering. You should have 2 years of experience, for instance, in software engineering. Case three would be, you should have an experience, or at least familiar with Java 11, right? These are 3 requirements that you should meet. If in case they are not meeting these requirements, print default that you are not eligible. Would that be an example? Can we use it? Instead putting the numbers, can we use the strings in there?
I'll give you a better example.
Acha.
Okay. So anyone, any questions with this?
No, sir.
Can we replicate the same program on our screens?
Yeah. Give us like.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me give you an example. Now what you have to do, you have a one variable, take one variable as an input. Okay. So that variable would be called as a string of operation, right? This operation could have add, subtract, divide, multiply, right? Now you have to write a switch case on this operation. Right? If my operation value is add, you have to write a case add and add 2 numbers. So there would be another variable called as integer a, and is equals to 10. User can give anything. Integer b is equals to 20. Right? Does it make sense, guys? Now how to represent? So for example, this was integer, so I have simply written case 1 as this. But if it is my, let's say, string, and this would be simply Monday, so I would have written case Monday, like this. Okay, so that's the only change you have to do. Everyone is clear with the question?
So, I mean, with since we have the string, right? We will be putting, is it the class name, add, subtract, divide, multiply?
That's a value of operation,
cases?
operation.
Okay, the cases, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, please share your screen.
Usmani sir, go ahead if you want to share.
No, you go ahead, brother. I'm not ready yet.
Oh, okay, just
Mr. Professor Tamim is very quiet nowadays. I don't know.
is that correct, sir?
Yeah. Great. Great.
So Shalin, he has operation and then he has operation 1 in the string.
Operation 1 is not required. It works on one single variable.
Oh yeah.
Okay, no worries. Good work. Yeah. Shamin.
Thank you. Should I stop?
Yes. So anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Can I?
sir.
So who's sharing? Farmos. Okay.
Okay, sir.
There is a default case. If I give the wrong value of operation, then there is single L, only single L. Right? So this is how we work with switch cases. Any confusions, any doubt, anyone related to switch cases? Farmos, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay, sir.
Anyone, any doubts?
Quite interesting, particularly when we did these arithmetic operations. So we can do anything with it, right? We only need a logic to put in and play around with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on it, Shalin. So you
No
can
worries.
go ahead. Yeah.
Zabi, take your time. Anyone, any doubts in any of the topic we have covered so far? If else statements, switch cases, operations, logical operations. Okay, now let's discuss one of the very interesting data type called as string. So a string is something which we have just seen, like we have given a string operation is equals to add, right? So we have covered all the non-primitive data types. We have discussed all the non-primitives that we have int, we have float, we have something called as, double, long, long boolean, right? So you must have noticed one thing, that all those data types are starting with a small case letters, means they are starting with small I, small f, small d, small l, right? So all those small case letters data types were non-primitive data types, means they were not classes in Java, but a string is itself a class in Java. So for example, let me share my screen. So I'll create a class.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
before you jump to the new chapter or new lecture, can I share my screen just quickly to show my homework as well, the practice of the class?
That's
Just
okay. That's okay. We will see it later in the class.
okay. Okay. Sorry for interruption.
That's great if you have done it. Are you facing any issues?
No, sir. Actually, no, no. I
Oh,
solved it. Solved it.
okay,
Yep.
then great.
Thank you.
So yeah, now what we are looking at, we have created a string class. So in a string class, we have a main method. Now in here, we will create simple one string. Let's say a string name is equals to Shalin. Right. So we all know that a string is a data type which is used to store text variables in Java, right? So it is storing a text value called as Shalin. But this string is a class in Java. Means if I open this, you can see it is created as a class in Java, class string, right? So unlike your primitive data types, your non-primitive data types, string is a class. So for example, if I say int, right? So you can see there is no class as int in Java. Does it make sense, guys? Right? So the benefit of having a primitive data type string as a primitive data type is that you can apply multiple methods over here. So you can see they have written many methods over here. A lot of code is written inside this class, right? So we can use these methods which are defined as part of this string class. So few of those methods we are going to discuss now, right? So for example, I want to calculate the length of my string. For example, I want to calculate the Shalin's length, right? So I'll simply say name dot length, right? So if I call a length method on this name variable, it will print me the length of my Shalin's, right? So 7 is the length. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is the length of this particular variable. Anyone? Are we clear with this?
Charlene, is this counting for a whole story as well if you write a description about something?
Yes.
And if we use instead of how many letters, how many words, so what do we have to do?
So right now I have given my name is Shalin Agrawal, right? So it is
Yes.
calculating the length of complete this.
Okay.
So whatever is the value of this name variable, it will give you the length of that variable, right?
Yeah.
And it will
Yes.
count space as one letter.
Yes. If we put in here and instead of name dot length, name dot word, will it count the words like one, two, three?
No.
That's something else, some other.
So there is nothing like that.
Okay.
So for example, length is a method in this string class. So you can call these, we will come to methods and functions in Java in after few more topics, but methods are something which are written inside Java classes, right? So on this, you can call only those things which are there in this particular class written, right?
Okay.
So length is that one method.
Okay.
Okay, are we clear? Anyone? Any doubts?
We are clear, sir.
Okay. Now, few of the other methods. For example, I want to print everything in uppercase. So I will simply say name dot to uppercase. So you can see everything is converted to an uppercase letters. Right? Any questions? Any doubt?
Charlie, just,
Yeah.
just a question here.
Mhm.
If you put here name and then count words, will that count the words or not? Name dot count words, or
If you want to try anything, right? So for example,
yeah,
you want to try count, right?
yeah.
So just write down that thing. So IntelliJ is good enough to give you suggestions. For example, you are saying count, right? So there is nothing as count.
Okay.
Right? So there is no method like count words, count and something like that. You have to write your own methods for that.
Okay.
And we
Thank
will
you.
discuss all those things once we'll cover methods class. What
Okay.
is method?
Okay.
So you can only use those things which are predefined by Java. So length to uppercase. Similarly, there is something called as to lowercase. Right? If I run this program now, it will give you my name is Shalin Agarwal. Right? Any questions? Any doubts? Anyone?
No, Shalin.
No, sir, no question.
It's getting interesting.
Okay. Now there is another method called as index of. So for example, I want to find the index of this particular thing. This is quite, you might be not able to get the whole concept as of now because we have not discussed arrays, but let me try. So for example, I want to know where my name starts. So for example, I want to check my name dot index of name, right? So if I run this program, let's say what it prints first of all. So it is printing 3, means it is starting from after your third character. So your first character is this, your second character is this, your third character is your space. And from this third character, your name string is starting, right? So that's why it printed 3, means after your 3 characters, your name is there in your array, in your string, sorry. Right? So
Shalin, yeah,
this we will
okay.
talk more about once we will discuss arrays. It will make a lot more sense once we understand what are arrays in Java. But just to give an idea that index of is also one of the method which is present inside your string class.
So I just wanted to clarify that when it printed 3, right? How it come printed 3 while the index starts with 0.
Yeah, makes sense. So for example, what really happens, like we have discussed. Now let me just give you a quick note. So let's say your string is like this, right? Please pardon my paint skills. What else? right? Let's say I have this particular string, my name, right? So consider this whole whiteboard as your Java memory, right? So in your Java memory, what happens that these are saved inside the blocks, right? We have discussed that how your JVM really works, right? So this will be divided into multiple blocks, right? There would be a space. Does it make sense, guys? So what will happen? Your string would be saved like your blocks of memory, right? One memory block is for M, another for Y, another for space, then another for N, A, N, E, right? And how your Java counts that blocks. So it starts your indexes from your 0. So 0, 1, 2 is your space, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right? And when I say name of 0, it will give you 0th of character. That is, it will give you name of name of 0. It will give you M, right? So this is how really it works. In your Java memory, your strings are saved inside your blocks of memory. And to identify which block is saving which character, they are given numbers. And those numbers always start from 0. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
I'll
Shalin,
talk a lot about it in your arrays. Once we will discuss arrays.
that was a very good hint for us, so we know it in advance when we move to arrays. I'm really amazed and surprised the way you are preparing us to jump into arrays. It's quite interesting. I've never seen others to they directly jump into it, but this was a very nice methodology. Thank you, Shalin.
Thank you, Talash. So the reason it gave you 3 is because M is your 0, Y is your 1, space is your 2, and N is your 3, right? So it started from 3. That's the reason it gave you 3 over here when I say index of. Right? Now, how to concatenate two strings, right? So for example, I have first string as first name as Shani, another Agrawal, right? So if I simply say my first name plus my last name, right? So what will happen? It will concatenate these two strings. For example, so it will simply add Shalin Agrawal, right? So your concatenation is done. Means it has combined two different strings into a one string. Make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Now there is another thing called as concat method. So this is one way using a plus symbol, right? Another way is so I have to concatenate your first name with your last name. So I will simply say first name dot concat your last name, right? So it will do the same thing. It will concatenate your last name at the last of your first name. So my output remains same. So either you can use a plus symbol or you can use a concat method.
Shalin sir, should we put a space between the first and last name or no?
You can put according to your own requirement. For example, if you want to put a space, you have to concatenate another string called as a space. So a space is, treat a space as a string. Okay. Now if I run this program, it will give you a space in between, right? So this space is also a character. Treat it as a character, or in this case as a string.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Can't we do it with the second one when we put dot concat?
So what you can do is, let's create another string. For example, I have a space, and this is simple. My string called as space. So here I'm simply saying space. Here what I'll say is space dot again concat, and then your last name. Right?
Perfect.
If you don't want to give space as a string, you have to simply do like this. Right? So that I think is clear that we can replace variables with the values directly. Anyone, any questions, any doubt? Right? So plus works differently with your strings and with your int, right? For your int variables, it will add two numbers, but for your string variables, it will concatenate two variables.
Word concatenate.
Concatenate is like adding
Combining.
combining two strings. Anyone, any questions, any doubt?
Sir, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Regarding my name is Shalin Agarwal. You know, the whole line is printed in capital letters.
Yes.
But what if we want just Shalin S with capital and Agarwal A with capital?
Not possible.
It's not possible.
You have to write your own methods. You have to write your own logic.
Okay, so can you do that, please?
We will talk about it once we'll cover more advanced concepts.
Okay. Thank you.
So when I say not possible, don't literally take it not possible. Everything is possible in Java. It just you have to wait for few more classes when I say not possible.
All right.
Anyone, any questions, any doubts? Okay. So let me give you a very interesting concept, right? So for example, I have integer A 10, integer B. This is a very good interview question. So guys, if you're going through or if you're planning to appear in Java based interviews, trust me, this is the question you will get. In 8 interviews out of 10, interviewer will ask this question. In 8 interviews out of 10. So for example, if I say integer A is equals to 10, integer B is equals to 20, and I'll simply say system.out.println A is equals to B. Right? So it will print your false, right? Does it make sense, guys? If I say A is 10, B is 10, then it will print your true, right? Now, there is one way. If I create one string called as name1, and there is another string called as name2, right? So if I say name1 is equals to name2, let's see what it will print. So it is printing true. Now, why it is printing true? So there are two ways, first of all, to create strings in your Java, right? You can create strings simply using string name one is equals to Shalin, or you can use a new operator. So for example, you can simply say new string Shalin, right? This is another way of creating strings. Right now, if I say name1 is equals to name2, let's see what it prints. It is printing false. My values still same, but now it is printing false when I use the new operator. Now, why it is happening? So your strings are immutable in Java, means they are always take another space. You cannot really change the value of a string. So for example, I'll quickly share the whiteboard. Right. So what really happened? So when you created a string called as Shali, I'll simply say right. So your Shalin is saved in one memory, right? So this is your memory. Let's talk about the case first of all, where you are saying where I'm creating a string called as name1 Shalin and string name2 is equals to Shalin, right? So what would happen? It will put your Shalin in your memory, and there would be variable called as name1, which will be pointing to this particular memory block. Right? So your name1 would be pointing to this memory block, which contains the value Shalin. Does it make sense, guys? Any questions, any doubt? Hello?
No,
To
sir.
me, it's clear, Shalin.
Okay. Now, again, now I'm creating another string called as name2. But what Java does, Java checked if there is a same string which already exists in the memory. Okay. So Shalin, I've given simply Shalin. Shalin is already there in memory. So rather than creating a new memory block, what it will do is it will start pointing to this same memory. So now your name1 and name2 are pointing to the same memory. Right? Make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
once I said a name1 is equals to name2, it printed me true. The reason it printed true is because your name1 and name2 were pointing to the same address. Java doesn't care what value it is holding. Java only cares at what address these strings are saved. Right? Make sense, guys?
Yes, Charlene did.
Now, but what happens when I say string name 1 is equals to Charlene, right? So it will create one memory block with Charlene with name. But when I say string name 2 is equals to with new operator, new string Charlene, right? So Java sees there is a new operator being used. So it doesn't care whether a string is already stored in a memory or not. So what it will do is it will create another memory block. It will store Charlene, and your name to instead of this will point to this, right? So in your Java, when you are using new operator, your strings are saved in different memories. Does it make sense, guys?
Yeah, it does.
Now, if you say name 1 is equals to name 2, if you execute this line, it printed you false because your name 1 and name 2 are pointing to two different memories. Right? That's the reason it printed you over here false. Make sense, guys?
Yes, Charlene, it does. Does it mean that it's creating an object of that string?
Yes,
Okay.
it's like an object.
Okay, so for each object, it's treating it uniquely.
For each object, it is creating a new memory space. It is not overwriting the same memory. Right? That's the reason it is always advisable not to check your strings are same with equals to, right? Like integers. Always use equals method. Now, what does this equals method does? Equals method check the actual value, right? Now, when I say this run this program, it will print you true, right? So in order to avoid those confusions, never ever use equals to. In case of a string, always use equals method. Are we clear with this?
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any confusions? Why to use equals operator? Anyone?
No questions. So let's give us a few homeworks for the stuff we have been through it, and then we will wrap it up.
Yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm just looking for the right examples.
Shalin, sir, we don't have your screen.
Okay, let me share my screen again. So write a program in which you take a year, right? So year could be your first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Let's consider a BTech course, right? Which is a 4-year course, right? So you have to take an year, and then according to the year, you have to print the elective subjects. For example, if the user says my year is 2, then you have to write science and maths, right? And then you have to print elective subjects based on the year. Are we clear with the program?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's one.
Not for switch cases, right?
Yeah. Concat 2 strings and uppercase at the same time. Right? So you have to do this. Right? So in the one single line, you have to concatenate 2 strings, and then you have to make them uppercase. Print the uppercase version of this. So you have to think the solution for this. Are we clear with the problem statement number 2?
Yes, sir.
Yes. For me, it's clear.
Okay, just let me see if I can, let me think if I can give another problem statement.
Another difficult questions.
Huh? No,
Just kidding, sir.
No, the agenda is to make you practice. Okay, there are the 2 questions as of now. I think that will cover most of the concepts which we have gone through today. And tomorrow we are going to discuss another wonderful topic called as loops in Java.
Yeah. Can you copy and paste this in the chat so we can get it?
Loops. And that's the tomorrow's topic. And I'll ping the questions in chat for everyone. Right? So copy paste the questions. Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.